Hi, my name is Sean, and this is my testimony.
I made the world my treasure, but underpriced my soul.
So my life before salvation was not a very difficult one by any means. I grew up with two great parents, two great brothers, back in Iowa, in a very small town, went to a small church. It was a good, supportive church community, but I think as I grew up in it, it did not, at least I did not get the right idea of what the gospel truly is and what salvation truly is. Like I said, it was pretty good. Grew up, was involved in a lot of stuff, a lot of sports, a lot of extracurricular activities, but I do believe that my parents and my church did teach me, in general, by the world standards, to be a good person and a hard worker, and to care about other people, and to build relationships. And I think that set a good foundation. But I also just wasn't quite there. I didn't have a relationship with Jesus at the time. I went off to college to play some college baseball. It was my dream all throughout high school. And I went to Briarcliff University in Sioux City, Iowa. And it was a Franciscan Catholic university. I never went. They didn't force you to go to mass or anything. I didn't do that, but I had my Bible with me, and I had my devotional with me that my dad got me for my graduation of high school. And I read it from time to time, but I was never consistent with it. I was never consistent in the Word. I was never consistent with my prayers. I prayed, I believed in God, but I did not have a relationship with Jesus. As I went in college, I didn't, I was more focused on athletics in high school. I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to really do any of the kind of quote unquote fun things you do when you're young. I hung out with friends, had a good time, but really focused on sports more so than anything. And I went to college and to focus on baseball. But I also, most of my teammates, they like to drink, and that's what kind of got me started on that. And I started drinking in college, and it eventually got, I would say, out of hand. It became second nature to me. When I'm done with the day, I just start drinking. And at first it was more of just a social thing, and then it became a singular thing. I was doing it by myself, and to pass the time. A lot of nights you end up just talking to God, and when you're talking to God when you're drunk, it's not a productive conversation, and it's not a good relationship, because I would just seem to complain about my life to him, I think would be the best way to put it. Not demanding things from him by any means. I never thought it was my place to do that, obviously, but it was something that got even worse as I moved on to Wichita here. I came down here for grad school. I majored in sports management, so I wanted to advance my career in that, and working in sports is about who you know more than anything. So I wanted to get to know more people in the industry and see if that could land me at another place. I didn't come to Wichita really thinking I would stay. I came here to do school and make a lot of connections. And if I stayed, I stayed. If I found a job somewhere else in the country, that was fine by me. Leading up to my salvation here, I was drinking quite a bit, and it was mostly by myself. eventually led up to December of 2022. I was in the wrong relationship with a girl, and that's not like the only thing, but it was one of the big things that I really, because I wanted to start cutting back on the drinking, start getting into my Bible more, and because I just knew this, I just felt a darkness kind of growing, and I think that was it was just a struggle that continued to go, and I was like, I need to get back on my Bible, and then I met this girl, and we weren't doing things that were glorifying God, and moved past that, and I just decided I felt horrible. I felt convicted, and so I ended that. And when I'm not a New Year's resolution person, but it just kind of coincided with the new year that I was going to change for good. I just felt a calling. I couldn't really explain it, but I needed to change. And eventually, for the first few months of 2023, I started growing my faith a little bit, watching different videos, different preachers, getting into my Bible a lot more. And eventually my parents came to visit in April, and I've been telling them and they've been obviously recommending that I join a church down here. And I've been kind of researching, not really, because I was a little too afraid to take that first step. But then they came to me with a suggestion of Glen Park. My mom's cousin, who used to live in Iowa, recommended Glen Park, and I went and met Pete, that first service, and met a bunch of other people, of course, too, and I couldn't remember their names for a while because I'm terrible with that. And then Pete wanted to get coffee with me and get to know me, and of course I said yes. I really did enjoy the service. It was a lot different for me. I grew up in a Methodist church, but I enjoyed it. I felt convicted by the sermon, and I didn't feel that way before at church. And got to know me, and Pete asked me a question. First of all, he didn't know who my mom's cousin was, but he asked me a question: if Jesus was standing in front of you, what would you say to him? After that question, it really hit me, and once I learned what having a relationship with Jesus really meant, that's what started to change. And then May 14th, it was a communion Sunday, and the sermon was about justification. And I couldn't see how the life I was living justified my salvation, because it can't, because the only key to the salvation was through that relationship with Jesus, because he took that on the cross, and it just hit me completely different that day, and I was crushed. I was I was tearing up a little bit in the pew as I was taking my moment alone, and I gave myself to Jesus that day. And since then, everything has really changed. I had a lot of, I wouldn't say it was really persistent anger issues, but I got overly angry at little things, overly annoyed at little things. I got super disappointed in myself, especially with sports. And it was a big struggle for me, and that started to go away. And the relationships I was making with the people, especially here at Glen Park, were growing, and I could just feel an overwhelming sense of peace. He was there all along, just waiting for me to come back, and the fact that he still chose me, even though I wandered for so long, and I didn't preach his gospel to anybody else. I didn't try to spread his word. I was always super private about my faith. I didn't share it, and I didn't do a good job praying to him every day and reading his word. It's so reassuring to know that he has the shortest memory because He loves us so much. And in September, I decided, a couple months after after I gave my life to Him, in September, I decided to get baptized. I was baptized as a baby. Obviously, I don't remember that. And I was born again, so I wanted to show that as giving my life back to Jesus and being born again. And it was such a special day. I just had a different feeling in my soul that day. It hit me pretty hard, and I could just feel the presence of Jesus there that day, the presence of God, and it was amazing, and it's an extremely special feeling. The fact that God brought me to Glen Park here to dive deeper into my faith and be reborn has changed my life in so many wonderful ways. In the most important way, because I've been saved, and the fact that it was because my mom's cousin watched some of Pete's services over COVID, so they had never met before, but the fact that that's the way that I got here can only be explained by divine intervention, and it's hard to grasp a little bit, but it's very special, and obviously I'm completely overwhelmed that it happened. Romans 8:1. Pete, of course, calls it the high five verse, and it just brings me joy every time I come across it. There is no condemnation for those who are saved by Christ Jesus. I don't know for sure if that's verbatim, but I mean, the fact that after we're saved, we are saved, despite us falling off track time and time again, like I do so many times, because I'm a broken sinner and I don't deserve His love and His faith, but He gives that to me, so very least I can do is give it back to Him. And that verse has grown more and more special to me every day. I'm Sean Keller, and that is my testimony.